So I really didn't know what I wanted to do, except for I had recently finished my self-care art journaling back in October and had used some of a new product to me. It is the resist spray, the distress resist spray. And so I knew I kind of wanted to play with it on this card. These Rol-ART-dex cards are great opportunities to experiment. And so I pulled out a PaperArtsy stencil. I've been really infatuated with circles lately, and I knew that I wanted to do something with some kind of not really sketchy, but unusual circular motif. These are really ovals, and so that's what I decided to do. So I pulled in the stencil and use that resist spray through it. I did add, it's kind of glumpy because it does add texture. So I did spray a little water through it as well, partially to help me clean off the stencil, but partially because I wanted to see if it got smoother areas. And with this, I then needed to get it dry. So I come in with my blow dryer. Now the instructions are kind of misleading. It does say to allow it to dry. So I interpret that to I'm going to allow my my dryer to dry it. So now I knew I wanted to also use my, I didn't know to begin with, but by this point, I knew I wanted to come in with some royal blood, which is an infusion by PaperArtsy. Now I have it mixed. I have it in this bottle along with some Powertex's PowderFix, which fixes it so it doesn't become water soluble. And I've sprayed it onto this card in the upper right hand corner, as you can see, and I'm going to come back and give this a dry once again. Now, I decided to come in with some Marabu sprays. These Marabu sprays are one of my favorite sprays, but they no longer make them. You've probably heard this a million times from me. But I do have a few left in the shop, but I don't think I have this. This is Tangerine. But I have been really into orange a lot lately, and I usually pair it with blue. And I decided today that it was just I was still feeling the orange, and it was going to be paired otherwise. So I came in, of course it doesn't spray out of the nozzle because all my nozzles are, I've had these forever. I've been hoarding them since are no longer being manufactured. So I'm going to use a pipette and just get a little bit in there and then add it to the water I just sprayed on so it will move and flow. I didn't want a lot of orange, but I did want a spark of color coming from the surface of this card. So part of the reason why I put that water down was just to soak into the watercolor paper and give this color encouragement to go down as well. And you'll see, I'm adding more water. You're going to also see that I'm going to get rid of the water of the excess here. But it's just been my experience that when I do that, it really starts to absorb into that watercolor paper. So that is why I came in with additional water, even though it was pretty soupy at this point. Now I am going to come in and give it a dry partially because I'm going to pull up some of this with this blue shop towel so that I just have a hint of that color on the card. I just wanted a pop. So now I'm going to come back in and get it all wet, see whatever's going to flow. Most of it's not, but I'm going to come back in with some more of that royal blood infusion let that do its thing. And you can already see where that stencil that I used with the resist spray is popping through. You can see it very clearly. So I'm going to add additional amounts of this royal blood, because once the infusions dry, they do lighten up a bit. So I knew I wanted to pump the volume a bit on getting it pretty saturated, well, as much as I could. And so after drying, you can see here it definitely has just a hint of that orange popping through, and that's exactly what I was looking for. I thought I would test this resist spray from Ranger and Tim Holtz, and I'm just taking a baby wipe and pulling any color off the surface, and it really didn't hold on to a lot. It pretty much resisted it. It definitely has a texture. This is considered a textured, so that's where I think the distress comes in, resist spray. And I really liked it. I don't necessarily like the shininess of it, because it is shiny, and some of it does get muted from those infusions, which is nice. So I decided I wanted to get some fabric on here, but I knew I wanted something really thin that you could see some of that orange through. In the end, I don't know how much of it you really see. I mean, it's you can see a little bit of it coming through. So I went with this vintage hanky, and I'm going to get this cut down to fit. So I've decided to dye this fabric, and I don't want it to be bright. I want it just a hint of that orange coming through. So what I chose to do is to get it soaked with water and then ball it up into a ball and take just a bit of that orange using the nozzle wand and just adding a little bit of color on there. And I'm going to come back in and spray it again with water, and then I'm going to come in with a bit of the royal blood infusion as well. So that is the method that I'm going to be dyeing this little piece of fabric, because I do want a hint of that color, but I just don't want it to be overpowering. All right, now that that's good and dry, I am looking at this piece trying to figure out how I want it to appear on the card. So I play a little bit with this, just scrunching up, see if I like it, and then I decide I'm gonna just get that cut down. But it takes me a little bit to get to that point. And I really liked this piece because it had a lot of fray on it, and it definitely does show some of that orange through and adds a little bit of a bonus with the orange that I had put on the fabric itself. But I did feel like it may need something else. But first I am gonna go look for some words. And you know, amazingly, the word search was very easy. I knew I wanted something with a black background, so that really limits me. I just needed something to pop off and contrast that royal blood. That royal blood's almost like a black. It's like a smoky black gray. So to start off with, I decided since I needed those black words, I'm going to come in and distress the edges with some black soot archival ink. And as always, I will have all the products I've used listed down below, along with some affiliate links. I'm going to get this distressed, and then I'm going to go search for my words, which does, like I said earlier, it does come very quickly. So now I've chosen the words, and I have decided that I want something additional to go on here. So I am going to go pick out my vintage carded sewing findings. And so I'm just going to kind of peruse through this box that I have. I've accumulated quite a bit over the years. These are like, I don't know, I just love these. Anything on a card, you know, all the vintage findings. I found these little gray buttons and I really loved it, but I just felt it was too big. But then I find another one just very similar but smaller. So I'm going to tear this off the card. Just one of these would work for this. But it was sewn to the card. So I grabbed some scrap washi I have on the side of my art table and cut the sewing that was done and tape it so it won't loosen and those buttons will fall off. So kind of off camera, I apologize about that. That's what I'm doing. I'm just adding a little washi so no buttons get freed from the card, because they hold their interest to me because they are on the card. Now I do have a whole bunch that are off cards that I also use, but they are not as delectable for some reason as these vintage carded ones. So I'll pull that off, and I am going to do some distressing to the edge of the card as well as a little bit onto the button. And because this is archival ink, I'm not too worried that it's going to move. I actually moved my finger over the top of it and didn't lose any of the black soot off of it. So that was quite fun.
Spend it all to feel less crummy and think that we've made it. Think that we've made it. Well, what else? Sit by ourselves. Think about the hands we're dealt and all our guilt. Think that we've made it. Think that we've made it. They say they have the answers, but no one's getting better. They say they have the answers. It's always pay to enter and enter.
Well, at this point, I felt like I needed another piece of fabric on here. So I have this vintage tin that I have all my small bits in of fabric. And I knew I had this kind of eyelet-y lace kind of stuff, and that I had done some iron dyeing. And I knew I wanted a piece of that because I felt like that would just give me another level of contrast. I just felt with this fabric, it would give me some more kind of a grade of this grayish black, the royal blood kind of feel to it. So I'm going to have a whole variety in this color range onto this card. Some diversity, if you will. So I'm going to get that layered up. I'm going to use some Fabri Tac Glue to get all the fabric down. Because that hanky is so thin, I know that this bead that I'm just putting in a line across the card here will not only hold that hanky, but it'll also hold that thicker eyelet piece. And I am going to fold this over just a hair so it's not super thick. And you're not going to really even see that fold because the other piece is really going to cover it up.
Oh, my best friend God sent my own good fortune. You know you are my double flame whisper, my soulmate sister. You know you are.
And then I'm going to add my button and then my words.
Same mother, different dads, but we're just as happy.
Just love that button. And I'm going to add the button with some Fabri Tac. I did kind of wish-wash in my head about it, whether I should use something a little bit stronger, but in the end it was a really light button. I think it's just all plastic, and so it'll hold with that Fabri Tac, especially being on the fabric. It's going to be attaching to that, which is very porous and will help it. And then I'm going to come in to adhere my words. I'm going to use the Barely Arts Precision Glue. I never trust the stick on a sticker, and always use, almost always use additional glue on them when I'm putting them down. And that wraps up another rolARTdex card. And I hope that you have enjoyed yet another rolARTdex card.
We are so unbreakable. My best friend God sent my own good fortune. You know you are my double flame whisper, my soulmate sister. You know you are. Oh, every time life gets.
You know, I just noticed there's only one strand going through those 4 holes on that button. I might go back and sew it again. We'll see.
You know you are.
maybe our lives were not meant to collide from the start. But who could foresee the fall?